Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to The Horror Within Me, a podcast dedicated to the world of horror. I am your host, Eric, and each week I'm going to rate and review a movie within the world of horror. Now, this is a show for horror fans, hosted by a fellow horror fan who's just here to share my experiences and my opinions with all of you in hopes that you gain something new to watch, or maybe not watch, and really just talk about all things related to this spooky, beautiful world that we call horror. So, if this sounds like the show for you, stick around and hit that subscribe button on your way out. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Horror Within Me. It's me, Eric, and it's time for another Spooky Sunday episode. This week's episode 40 of the show. So, clapping for myself here. Super excited. Episode 40, people. That's a big deal to me. And it's also a lot of other things happening in February. It's the first weekend of February, and we are just passing Groundhog's Day, which is also my one sister Heather's birthday, who's also a horror fan. So happy birthday, Heather. But also on Monday, February 6th, it's going to be my husband's 30th birthday, finally. So happy birthday to my husband, Ryan. Happy 30th. And so this week's episode is dedicated to my husband, Ryan, for being so supportive in all of my crazy things that I want to do, and to my sister, Heather, who is a fellow horror friend and fan. So this one's for you. And this week's show is going to be on the movie Happy Death Day. Perfect, right? We're just passing Groundhog's Day. We're passing birthdays of people in my life. So I thought, what a great movie to review on this week's episode. So I'm really excited about it, and I'm really excited about the new formatting that we have implemented, that we do now. I really like that the structure that the show is going in. I find it to be a lot more cohesive and easier for me to connect with you guys on what's I'm trying to connect with you on, and give you some great content and reviews and trivia and just funny conversation with me and you. So we're going to stick to the same formatting that we did last week, where we're going to have the top 3 best and worst reviews on the movie from IMDb. Same thing that we always do. And then we'll end with my final review and all the fun stuff. And I'm doing weird things with my hands. So if you're not just listening, you're watching on YouTube, I am sorry that I'm weird, but not really. So this week's episode is Happy Death Day, and we're going to head over to IMDb. We're going to read the little snippet synopsis at the top, which is as follows. Let me clear my throat. Ready? A college student must relive the day of her murder over and over again in a loop that will end only when she discovers her killer's identity. Okay, as far as synopsises go, I think this one is pretty straightforward on what the movie is. As we've said in previous episodes, some of these synopses are just not believable, or they just don't make sense to make you want to watch the movie. This synopsis, I feel like it really doesn't get any more specific on what the fuck Happy Death Day is. So, Happy Death Day was released on October 13th, 2017. And it stars Jessica Rothe as Tree Gelbman, Israel Broussard as Carter Davis, and Ruby Modine as Laurie Spengler. Those are the top 3 credited cast members that I chose. There are other actors and things in it, so don't come correct me. I know there were more people that are in the movie, but those are the top 3 that I have highlighted for the episode. Directed by Christopher Landon, written by Scott Lobdell, and produced by, guess. That's right, Jason Blum. We have another Blumhouse. I'm sorry, but not really that I keep doing Blumhouse movies. I can't help that they're the movies I like right now. I can't help that that's what keeps drawing me back out to want to review these movies. But yes, we have another Blumhouse production movie here. We have Jason Blum, who I am just a huge fan of, who does not want to be on the show. No, I'm just kidding. I have no idea. I didn't try. The IMDb rating for Happy Death Day is a 6.6 out of 10. I think that's a pretty decent rating for a horror movie. It's rated PG-13, so for a rated PG-13 horror movie, I think that's even better kind of rating. The Rotten Tomatoes rating of 71%. So go ahead, that's the tomato meter or whatever, not the audience critic score, the critic score, because the audience score is always going to be different. So I'm going off of like the professional critics or whatever for Rotten Tomatoes, just because it's kind of fun. So 71%, I think, is pretty good. I don't think that's terrible. We've come across some really bad Rotten Tomato scores. So we'll take the 71% for this movie. So I'll put it as a win in horror movie ratings on Rotten Tomatoes. It's above 50%. It's above 60% shit. So that's the on paper information about Happy Death Day, right? We got the little synopsis. You know when it was released. You know who's the stars, director, writer, produced, and the ratings. So based off that information alone, let's just say it sparked your interest, right? And you want to know a little bit more. So you want to read the reviews. So I'm going to save you the trouble. And I'm going to read the top 3 greatest reviews and the top 3 worst reviews from IMDb on the movie. That way you don't have to go dig through them all. Isn't that nice? It's so nice of me. But before we do that, we have to do our time-held tradition of terrifying trivia. So this week's terrifying trivia question is probably really fucking easy, but it's so easy, but so perfect that I have to do it. So here we go. This week's terrifying trivia question is, this movie has been compared to what 1993 movie starring Bill Murray? I'm going to repeat my question. And again, this movie has been compared to what 1993 movie starring Bill Murray? Stick around because I'm going to give you the answer at the end of the show. All right, so where were we? Moving on, we're going to dive in to, because it's going to be fun, the best and worst reviews on IMDb for Happy Death Day. Okay, let's see. So these are always fun. I love to do this because I just think it's so much fun to read the objective reviews of other fans or whatever you want to call them. Because not everyone that's going to write a review, I believe, is a fan, and that's where a lot of the worst come in. I just think it's kind of fun to dissect and have fun with. But it's always good to get the best out the way first, right? Because we're going to have a lot more fun doing the other shit. All right. Starting off with the best review, we have a 10 out of 10 titled, I Was Surprised. Okay, here we go. When this movie first came out, I thought it was going to suck. I seen the trailer and I thought, here we go, another stupid teen horror movie. Well, this movie fooled the hell out of me, LOL. It wasn't a horror movie, but it was a good suspense movie. It kept me in, I laughed, and I had the what the fuck moments. To the people who was upset about it not being a horror movie, I don't think it was meant to be a horror movie at all. It was meant to be a Groundhog's Day movie with twist of suspense and life lessons. Okay. Person was clearly pleasantly surprised at her viewing or their viewing experience. Not sure what their identity is, but I'm not sure why they don't think it's a horror movie. This always falls in line with people thinking that in order to have a horror movie, it has to be terrifying and has to be, scary as all hell. And that's just not the case. And I will say this on every episode, and I will take it to the grave. Put it on the headstone, put it on the urn, put it on whatever fucking box you throw me in, that there is a whole world of horror that is not just for the terrifying to scare the shit out of you horror. There are a lot of other elements that fall within the horror genre. So I just want to hopefully this person that wrote the review has a friend that they meet along the way as a fan, a fellow horror fan who can help enlighten them on that aspect of the horror genre. So, um, I loved the exclamation points in the review. Like in the title, I was surprised has 2 exclamation points, but then, where is it? When it says the beginning line where it says, when this movie first came out, I thought it was going to suck. There are 4 exclamation points. So this person is clearly very passionate about the amount of shock they've received after watching this movie and what they anticipated. My question is, I'm glad that they gave it a 10 out of 10 and they liked it. But my question is, why did you watch it if you thought it was going to suck to the point where like you emphasized that it was going to suck with 4 exclamation points? And so you decided, I thought it was going to suck so bad. I'm just going to watch it anyway. Maybe it's me, but if there's something that doesn't spark joy in my life, I don't tend to go for it. And that's just, maybe it's, I don't know. I don't know. People are watching and doing things that are making them unhappy or something they just are going into with like the lowest expectations of all. Really not, going into over an hour's worth of their time on something that they clearly weren't passionate or thought they were going to enjoy. I just don't get. I don't get it. But we probably never will. And that's maybe, somebody else in the comments can come on and explain to me why. Moving on to the next review, because other than that, I think we dissected all we could do out of the first review. Second review is titled, I normally write bad reviews, ... And the score is a 10 out of 10. Okay, here we go. But I love this film. It's been a favorite since its release. Even with the constant time looping, I have seen it at least 4 times. It's refreshing and feels completely original. Would recommend to fans of horror, sci-fi drama, and thrillers. The acting is great, the script is great, the concept is great, and the comedy is spot on. I don't know where to start with this review. Other than I love it takes me back to the other one too. It's like, what is going on? I normally write bad reviews. As somebody in marketing, I do see that there are people who would rather write a bad review than a good review because I don't know. I don't know what the association with that is, but I'm glad when people write good reviews because we need good reviews too. And that's something that the world needs in every organization, every business, every whatever you want to say. But anyway, but they love the film and I like the sentence because I don't know if they meant to do this, but it was like, even with the constant time looping, I've seen it at least 4 times. Was it on a time loop? Like, did you watch it over and over again 4 times? Like, that's just funny to me. I don't know. This is a dad joke for me. I like the dad jokes. Don't come for me. But also saying it's refreshing and feels completely original. It does, I guess, for a horror movie, I think it can be described as completely original because it is something that hasn't really been done in the horror movie genre before that I know of. So I don't know that I would classify it, categorize it as a sci-fi drama. I don't get maybe it's the looping that makes it sci-fi. I guess. I mean, I guess it could be sci-fi drama. I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you. You've convinced me that it could fall under sci-fi drama. Okay. I like the rest of the review. It's a small review. It's not too much to dig into. So yeah, moving on to our last of the top 3 reviews for Happy Death Day comes the next one. Another 10 out of 10, obviously. Maybe not all the time, but this week it's all 10 out of 10s. 10s across the boards. Sorry, it's RuPaul Day. Titled, Fast-Paced Campy Horror. That even sounds like a runway look for RuPaul's Drag Race, doesn't it? Category is Fast-Paced Campy Horror. All right. I can't help myself. I'm gay. I love it. All right. Here is the review. Excuse me. After reading some of the reviewers trash this film, even though they didn't see it, I had to comment on this film. Also, after reading glowing reviews for pretty awful films, It and Blade Runner 2049, I needed to set the record straight. If you enjoyed Drag Me to Hell in a PG-13 setting, you'll love Happy Death Day. Tree is a sorority girl, high fashion, snobby, and no carbs. She wakes up in some guy's dorm room, much to her dismay, only to realize she's reliving the day of her birthday and murder over and over again. Laughs, a few good scares, plot twists, and even a single tear. And yes, the acting is that good, and Tree shows real growth. Makes this a fun escape in the magical world of the movies. This movie doesn't have much gore and only has sexual innuendos, which give the PG-13 rating. This is a film worth seeing. Campy horror at its best, with the last sentence in all caps. Okay, fast-paced campy horror we already discussed. It's a runway look for one of the season 23 of RuPaul's Drag Race. When I finally go and start doing drag, that I'll be suggesting that I walk that runway with my cane. I'm not sure where, maybe it's an assumption that the beginning of the review says that after some of the reviewers trashed the film, even though they didn't see it, did they say they didn't see it and posted a review? Because I just find that difficult to believe. But it's possible. I mean, it's possible. I like how they threw in digs at two other movies, It and Blade Runner 2049. Now, this was written in October. This was written the day after the release, October 14th, 2017. So it has to be regarding It Chapter 1, which I wouldn't say it's an awful film. I have my issues with it, which I think I've mentioned before, and it's a future episode possibly, because why the fuck not? But they had to throw that in there. But also, like, if you enjoy Drag Me to Hell in a PG setting, I'm not you'll love Happy Death Day. They're very different kind of movies. I guess what they're trying to hint at is like a PG-13. Like, I get what they're saying, but why do these people keep comparing two separate kind of genre, like subgenres in horror movies that have nothing to do with each other? I mean, it's just weird. One is a slasher and one is not. But anyway, they go on to their own synopsis, which I like it. I like the beginning. Sorority girl, high fashion, snobby, no carbs. I'm like picturing if I didn't see the movie, I would have a character I would be creating in my head on past people that I probably went to high school with at one of the Catholic schools, because we all know. I'm going to leave it there. Wakes up in some guy's dorm room, much to her dismay. I don't know if it was to her dismay at first, because she doesn't realize that it's a loop yet. I think much to her hangover, she wakes up in trying to understand where the fuck she is and what happened the night before, because she's groggy, because we've all fucking been there. I've woken up more times than I can count in my lifetime with what the fuck daytime and shit did that happen last night feeling. So we relate, girl. What else? It's her birthday. Yeah. Murder. Yes. Laughs. Correct. Scares. Correct. Plot twist. Probably. Single tear. If it's probably discussing parental storyline that I personally relate to. So yeah, I had a tear. I think I had a tear too. I can relate. I agree. I love that it tells you why it's PG-13. It's because, it doesn't have too much gore and not real sex, just innuendos. So that's why it's PG-13. Okay. Thank you for clarifying the reasoning behind the rating. We appreciate you. But those are our top 3 best reviews from IMDb on Happy Death Day. So if I have convinced you completely to watch the movie, now I'm going to show you why people say you shouldn't. Moving on to the top 3 worst reviews from IMDb for Happy Death Day. Coming in first, we have a 1 out of 10, titled, "Even if it was an original premise, it would still be bad." Here we go. To me, the movie does not work. In the theatrical trailer, you see every one of her deaths, and since it is a PG-13, what you see in the trailer is about as much detail as they show in the movie. Really not much point to this film other than trying to play the whodunit game. Obviously, once revealed, your mind immediately addresses all of the problems with this resolution. Not for me. Didn't work. Trailer revealing everything did not help the experience either. And before you think, why does he even watch the trailer if he doesn't want it spoiled? I am a firm believer that a good trailer is one that does not reveal every single surprise. Where to begin? Even if it was the original premise, it would still be bad. To be fair, kind of is an original premise in its own right. So fuck that. I'm not gonna listen. We're not gonna go past any more than what needs to be said there. Um, I like that they start their review saying, "To me, the movie does not work." So it's not, they're telling you, like, me personally, it didn't work. So I can respect that you start your review, dear person, reviewer, writer, that it's just because to you it doesn't work, and then you go on to say that you see every one of the deaths in the trailer. I don't remember that, but I mean, okay. And since it is a PG-13, what you see in the trailer is about as much detail as they show in the movie. Um, um, I guess, I guess, I guess you're not gonna get like Terrifier 2 fucking bedroom scene from PG-13, but I think it was still decent. Um, Not much point to this film other than trying to play the whodunit game. What is wrong with that? I like a good whodunit. My favorite board game is Clue. I love the fucking movie Clue. Like, love the movie Clue. One of my top favorite films of all fucking time. I love a good whodunit. I like Knives Out, Glass Onion, which I actually literally am talking to my sister about right before I started recording to have her watching right now. Scream franchise. Like, what's wrong with a good whodunit? We love a good whodunit. I don't see that being a problem. And you're always going to try to address the problems within after things are revealed and try to put things together. But I think at that point you're just digging too much into the fantasy of the movie. Like, everything doesn't have to make logical sense. It's a fucking movie, not a goddamn documentary. Okay. Anyway, they had to repeat that the trailer is revealing everything and did not help the experience either. I mean, I completely agree with the end of his review with, and again, I don't remember if this trailer did, so I'm not saying that for this movie, but in general, when the trailer reveals everything, it really does take away from the viewing experience. And I agree with his comment when people say, why do you watch a trailer if you don't want it spoiled? A movie should not be spoiled from a trailer. It should be a highlight of certain aspects to the film. So I can agree with his assessment of a trailer not spoiling the movie. Again, I don't remember if this trailer did. I didn't go back to watch it, but I agree with what he said on that aspect. Moving on to the second worst review for Happy Death Day on IMDb is another 1 out of 10, titled "A Timeless Classic That Will Leave You Wanting More." Intriguing, isn't it? Here we go. Okay, first of all, let me tell you this. I have never written a movie review before, nor have I wanted to, but for Happy Death Day, I had to make an exception. From opening sequence to the end credits, this film was incredibly bad. After seeing it, I wanted a refund and questioned whether I should ever watch a movie again. I am a regular moviegoer and so can appreciate just how terrible this really is. There was not one single redeemable quality the movie showed me why some people choose to end their own lives. From the cringy, awful casting and dialogue to the tired and predictable ending, this is hands down the worst thing I've seen since since concentration camps. Please, please do not spend actual money to see this abomination. I must go now and ponder suicidal thoughts. Are you okay? Can somebody check on them? Um, I that is dark. It took us to a dark place, and I have a dark, dark sense of humor. Like, really dark sense of humor. But I don't joke about unaliving and suicide. I just don't think it's funny or appropriate because I'm a firm believer that, mental health is a big problem in the United States and probably the whole world, and that there's not enough emphasis on things like that, and that it's a sign of weakness to a lot of people and not a sign of strength to be looking for help. So I'm very turned off by the very dark tones this review has given a fucking movie. And like they said that it's like, I mean, they're so dramatic. I questioned whether I should ever watch a movie again. I mean, I don't know about you listeners at home, but a movie I've never seen in my life, I know that I'm taking a gamble on sitting down or going to the movies or whatever the fucking case is and watching it and it being absolutely terrible. I have never felt that after watching a bad movie that I will swear movies off for the rest of my fucking life because one movie in one specific genre ruined movies for the fucking rest of my life. I mean, that is a strong statement, person. Very, very strong statement. Another thing that really bothered me was the worst thing I've seen since concentration camps. That is so fucked up because that is a real life horror in our history, and it should never be compared to a make believe fucking horror movie ever. Like, that's not respectable. And I'm not going to waste any more time on that. I just thought, like, this was such a terrible review, but I really want to showcase it because it's such a terrible reviewer with, like, how it might be a little bit of a darker tone. And I know I like to make light of things and I try to keep it fun, but I wanted to showcase how it's like the reality of, like, the amount of hate like this that people really post out on everything. And we see it all the time. We see it on social media and everything. Like, this is the shit that people put out. And that's the end of the dark thing. I'm going to do that. I'm going to move on to, I hope that person has get some actual mental health help because it seems like that they need it or some type of sensitivity training, or I don't fucking know. Godspeed. But moving on to the final worst review from IMDb for Happy Death Day is another 10 or 1 out of 10, and it's titled "One of the Worst Movies I've Ever Seen." It's a very original title. Very original title. Okay. Here we go. This is not an intellectual movie. It's very repetitive, and the genres of this movie is not correct at all. It is more of a comedy mixed with romance and some mildly jump scares. Not a movie suited for me personally at all, although some of my emotional friends did enjoy it. I don't know how this got all the hype it got because it is not worth watching. I wanted to leave the cinema after the third rollback. Okay. What the fuck? Okay, it's not an intellectual movie. Fucking duh. It's a PG-13 horror comedy movie. It literally has comedy as one of the fucking subgenres that it falls under. Why would it be an intellectual movie? What did you think you Okay, and I think it's funny that it's very repetitive. Well, fucking duh. The whole premise of the movie is a girl keeps waking up on her birthday / death day and has to try to figure out who the killer is and keeps dying and waking back up. The whole point of the movie is that it's fucking repetitive, person. Um, and the genres of this movie is not correct at all. Also false. It's definitely a horror comedy. It hits all the horror fucking comedy things on the list. What are you talking about? Not a movie suited for me personally at all. Clearly, clearly it's not. We get it. I like although some of my emotional friends did enjoy it. Are you a narcissist? Are you a sociopath? Are you lacking of emotion? Some of my emotional friends. What does that mean? What does that mean? Please, somebody tell me what that means. Am I the emotional friend? Am I non emotional? I cry. I think I'm an emotional person. What? I guess I would fall as an emotional friend. Fucking weird. Not sure how I got all the hype, but once you leave the cinema after the third rollback, your friend should have left you at the cinema and never rolled back. What is wrong with you? I do they know that you call them your emotional friends? These are my dead friends. They have no emotion, no heart. Love them. Well, I can't say love them because I'm also lacking emotion, but I have emotional friends so that I appear somewhat of human being. But I show no emotions. What the fuck? And that concludes the top 3 best and worst ratings on Happy Death Day from IMDb. All right. So now that I fucked up your brain on whether or not you actually want to see Happy Death Day if you haven't seen it yet, I'm going to move on to the favorite thing that I like from the movie. Favorite thing that I like from Happy Death Day is actually the character of Tree, the main character. I fucking love her. I just loved everything that they put into her development, the thought behind her. You know, I love a strong female in media, not just horror, but I love that, you know, she was independent and made her own decisions and did what she wanted to do and was a strong female. I just really liked her character. I loved everything about it. I thought she was funny. I thought she was fresh. I just loved everything about her. What I didn't like most about Happy Death Day, I am going to go back and say, is the PG-13 rating. But that's because I always want something darker, even in a comedy. Like, not as dark as the second worst review, but you know, in horror movies, it's just my personal taste. Like, I understand why it wasn't rated R, and that the PG-13 rating it's appropriate for the movie. I would have liked it to, you know, have played a little bit darker, even like darker comedy where you could have done more gory kills in the movie in different ways. And it still could have been kind of very dark comedy in a rated R setting. I would have liked to have explored that aspect. But that's all I can think of about what I didn't like the most from the movie. So what do I rate it, right? What is the rating system for this week? If you've seen the trailer or the movie, you know that this killer wears a black hoodie with a baby doll mask. So obviously the rating is going to be baby doll mask because it's fucking creepy. And for the Horror Within Me, the Eric review rating, I give it an 8 out of 10 baby doll masks. I really liked it. And before I give you, lost my words. Before I give you my final review, we're going to go back, because it's that time, to answer this week's terrifying trivia question. So let's go back up to the top here and revisit. So this week's terrifying trivia question was, this movie has been compared to what 1993 movie starring Bill Murray? And the answer is Groundhog Day. Groundhog Day is a movie, I've actually never seen it, but it's got the same kind of premise, not of Happy Death Day, but on the fact that Bill Murray's character keeps waking up on the same day over and over again and supposed to be learning something in order to break the loop. So it's a classic, and I'm sure that you have figured it out, and there were hints about it in the reviews, and there were talks about it at the beginning, how, you know, it was Groundhog Day the other day. So very appropriate question, probably super easy, but also the only question we need to ask about this terrifying trivia for this week. So it's time, the time of the show, for my final review that I have written for Happy Death Day. So here is mine. Again, an 8 out of 10 rating of Baby Doll Mask. And the final review from me is, Happy Death Day takes the horror trope of the hot, dumb blonde that gets killed in the beginning and transforms her into the strong and heroic final girl of the movie. If you are looking to watch a new take on a classic story with great actors, a strong female lead, and a movie that doesn't take itself too seriously, then go and watch this immediately. And I use the word hot dumb blonde as a not that I agree with that, but we all know what I mean by that from back in the day in the horror movies. That's what they did to these females, and I love that they took Tree. She's blonde and she's beautiful, and she's drunk and she went home with a guy. We don't know if she slept with him yet, and she gets killed in the beginning, but then she wakes back up and she's continually being killed. But she's also they give her so much more depth and make her a relatable, real person, and takes away the stigma of all the shit that they used to try to put on females like that, and gave her an empowering character. And I love that about it. So where can you watch Happy Death Day? Now that you've listened to this episode, you're like, I need to go watch Happy Death Day. You can rent Happy Death Day on Amazon or YouTube for $3.99. There were a bunch of other platforms that you could find it on, but I thought those were the two most popular ones. And that's it for this week's episode of The Horror Within Me. Thank you for joining me. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week, and I will see you all next time. For more Horror Within Me content, visit my link tree at linktr.ee/horrorwithinme